other courses. From here onwards, I would be taking your classes. The one unfortunate thing what has happened is like in my tablet, uh, the Meet is not working. Okay, because I have been using sorry, this Team is not working because I have been using Google Meet for my other classes. So I will figure that out and rectify it in the next class. So only for the today's class we may not be able, I may not be able to write here. So we'll see that or maybe I will just try to use mouse for the same. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so now I've connected an wireless mouse to my system. Okay, so let's start. Today we are going to start another layer which is called data link layer. This spelling is wrong, DILINK. Okay, so let's start. By the time you have already seen application layer, okay, you have to repeat with me. You have seen application layer and then
transport layer,
okay, then
network layer,
and everything is most of the things in that are finished. Just to tell you that whatever we could cover for all these layers, like whatever sir could cover and whatever I will do it, that is really just to give you a base for this subject. It is really much more than what we can see in this 40 lectures course, but that is only kind of laying down a foundation for you to understand much more complex protocols and much more newer technologies which are coming day by day in this particular networking world. Sometimes it may happen that whatever you are studying here, that may not be happening exactly in the real world in the same manner, but the foundations or the principles will be sort of same. So that is something we have to keep in mind. So let's just start this data link layer. Okay, so now the packets which are coming till now, what you have seen is the responsibility of the network layer is to route a packet from one place to another, and for that it requires addressing, and you know all its addressing mechanism, which is it uses IP address and how it basically utilizes that IP address, and couple of routing protocols to route the packet from one node to another, which may be multiple routers apart from your system. But till now, we have really not talked about what is happening between the two systems. Like when a particular node is a network layer is kind of having a packet, and then it gives down to something which don't know to what, and its purpose is to just deliver it to the next node. Now, what could be the next node in the real scenario? For example, as of now, you might have connected your laptop through your mobile hotspot, correct? In that case, the next node is, that means the link between your laptop and your mobile is we call a link. As of now, in this case, it's a wireless link. In when you are in lab, you are connected through computer to another device, which is probably a kind of switch is somewhere situated in the lab. So when you put in your jack in your computer, it basically is directly connected to to a switch, and that is the link we are talking about. Means what happens at that point, when means how to deliver these packets. Means whatever you know as a packet has payload, has TCP or UDP header, and then you have already put up in kind of IP header, which primarily has two fields called source and IP, and so destination IP. Now this is the bunch of information you have, and you want to deliver it to the next node, correct, which is directly connected to you by various means. It could be either a wireless link or it could be a wired link. Even the wireless and wire links may have point to point or broadcast nature. So for example, when I say that when your laptop is connected to either Wi-Fi hotspot or your mobile hotspot, doesn't matter, a Wi-Fi access point, or to your working as an hotspot, or the mobile working as an hotspot, actually your wireless signals are going everywhere. So it's inherently, usually the wireless signal is inherently, you can say, broadcast nature. Only thing is that the kind of information which we say at the at the data link layer as a frame, instead of using the packet, we use the terminology frame, because frame will have some more header fields at data link layer, and the packet is basically having only the network layer header fields, as well as the transport layer header fields, and then the payload. So these frames we want to transmit, okay, and then I was talking about that the wireless is inherently broadcast. However, you can also have an wired common channel where multiple nodes are connected to that wired channel. For example, if I just try to make okay, maybe I use this pen. Yeah. So if I try to make a common channel, and let's think about that there is one PC connected here, okay, one PC connected here, and likewise, so you can think about this as a bus, okay, we call it a bus, and then many PCs are connected here. So if somebody transmits it, actually technically everybody will receive it. Only thing is that the way we encode the messages and all that, for others it is not really useful, so the destinations will come to know that this is for whom. So this is how you can always ensure a one-to-one kind of communication, or a unicast communication between two nodes, even if you have channel which is broadcast, okay. So broadcast channel inherently means that the signal will reach to everybody, okay, and you can always have connections like this, correct. So like there are three nodes, let's say, and they are then connected by point to point links like this. In that case, if A sends something to B, I'm really sorry that today I'm using this mouse for writing all this. If A is sending something to B, then through this channel, then only B will listen. Okay, B will even receive. The others will not able to listen. And this is also one of the biggest problem in wireless network, where the security is an issue. So if you are transmitting something, somebody can put some other device in the proximity to receive your signals. The best example I can give of receiving other signals is nothing but if in your home you might have seen many SSDs of your neighbors also, correct? So in your home, actually your mobile is saying that these are all SSDs which are all Wi-Fi hotspots which are available. So that means signal is coming to you. Only thing is that after that you don't have the password to basically connect to that. Okay, this is the link what we are talking about. This is the single point we are talking about. That is, still there are many things which we need to, many functions which we need to make or develop to basically ensure the you can say kind of reliable transfer, means sometimes reliable, sometimes unreliable, but just to ensure effective transmission of frames from one node to another node over a single link. So because all other means link by link, if you remember we had given you one question also in the mid-SAM, which was something like this, that you have a kind of stop and wait over these links. Okay, so see, stop and wait is a kind of, you can say, ARQ mechanism which can either be applied at the transport layer. That means this node is kind of transmits, and then everything is abstracted, and when this node receives the packet, then this acknowledges. Okay, in that case the intermediate links are completely irrespective or completely abstracted from this notion. Correct. So this, you have been doing this at transport layer and other layers, where the transport layer is completely abstracted from this fact that what is the underlying link layer going on here. Means we said that you transmit at the transport layer, if the receiver does not receive it, or then the timeout will happen. Otherwise, if the receiver receives it, so then ACK will come. There you use selective repeat and things like that. Correct. But the very similar things you can also use at this link layer. Okay, and that was precisely the question that we kind of mixed the link layer transmission as well as, means you can say the stop and wait at just this link. So this packet will be transmitted from here to here, and then if this does not receive, then it will not, then it will retransmit. Otherwise it will send the ACK back. So the link layer retransmission is different from the transport layer or above layer retransmissions, although the concept is same. It's like, means there are two entities, but at what layer they are doing it. And therefore we say that many of the, you can say, functionalities done by the transport layer to ensure the transmission of information from process to process, okay, from one process to one process, reliable in delivery and so on and so forth, are same as at the data link layer. The only difference is that at the data link layer you are just concerned about this link only. That means how I will send the data over this link, how I will ensure that the data is received, how I will ensure that the destination can detect whether the packet is being reached intact using error detection techniques, and so and so. And then how I will ensure that when you have a broadcast channel and multiple nodes are transmitting on that channel, then how will ensure a kind of arbitration among them, so that at a time only one node is transmitting on the channel, to avoid any kind of collision between the nodes. Because if two people talk simultaneously, we know that what happens, the packets or the voices gets collided and nobody can make it out anything out of that. So there are some challenges related to this delivery of frames. Instead of packets we use the word frames, delivery of frames over this link. Okay, so that is after that we also have something called physical layer. Now one interesting thing is that still we are talking about frames like a sequence of you can say bits. Okay, ultimately it's just like some bytes frame. But how finally those frames gets converted into bits, and how those bits basically are represented in some kind of electromechanical or electromagnetic signal or an electrical signal, means what is that process which will ultimately make this transmission happen. Correct. For example, a very simple process could be that for every bit you represent that as a 5 volt, and every zero you represent that as a 0 volt, and then on the wire you try to just switch on 5050 according to your encoding. That could be your encoding, and then according to your input bit stream you just keep on changing it. So for example, if you have, let's say, message you want to send 0 bit stream 0110, and then see what I'm telling is very simple encoding which is actually not used. Okay, so what you can do is you can just do 0 and then you say okay, then 1, then another one, and then you can say again 0, and that's all. So this is actually you are transmitting 0 here, you are transmitting 1 here, you are transmitting 1 here, and you are transmitting 0 here. Means from here itself you can find it out that see there should be a notion of bit timing, so that the receiver can understand that okay, this much duration is for 1 bit, and all those technologies, whether it is 1 Mbps technology, 1 Gbps technology, 10 Gbps technology, or 100 Gbps technology, depending upon that this bit duration becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and then both the devices are usually synchronized at that level, so they will read the data at this point, and then probably at this point, and then this point and this point, and make it out that this. So that those are all physical layer issues. Okay, usually we do not do much physical layer issues in this computer science, you can say computer network course. However, this is very important. These kind of things are very important for ECE students who deal with communication facts, okay, or communication things. So I think this much of introduction. Let's move ahead with this data link layer. Any question regarding this, the functionality, or yeah, I mean, anything related to that? So I can only see as of now the slides. Okay, so you have to speak it out. Even if it is no, you just say no so that I can move ahead. Why I'm not receiving anything? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, so at least somebody can say no, then I can move ahead. Okay. So the link layer protocol. So again, the good part of our computer network course is that every function, every layer, I mean, all the functions are divided across layers. Every layer has functions, and for every function, we try to design a protocol. That's all. So it's a very, means that in that sense, it's a very structured course and subject where the things conflict very less, and it gives a very nice, you can say, abstraction to learn an individual layer. Sometimes, let's say, if somebody is not aware, maybe it's like, even if you don't do link layer, whatever you have done so far, that is sufficient for, and consider the link layer as an abstraction, and just leave the course here itself. You have, you still know something. Okay, you really, maybe in future you really don't need to know the link layer, how that is working, and especially for those who are going to design only the application layer things and like that. And you know TCP and IP, and that's done. Sometimes if you are just only a researcher at very lower level, where you are trying to design only this, solve only these problems related to the link layer problems, you really need not have too much worry about the application layer HTTP protocols, how the DNS server works and things like that. So this is actually, this kind of abstraction is not only good for the designers or the developers or the protocol developers or the implementers, but also good for the academicians to basically understand you can say a unique piece of uh, information or knowledge which is presented in form of a layer. Okay, so link could be point to point or broadcast that we just discussed. Broadcast means many nodes connected to the same communication channel, like wireless is inherently broadcast. Protocols basically define, so what are the protocols we need to use here in link layer? First thing, what we need to define the format of frames to be exchanged over the link, correct? So think about it like that you have received a packet from the higher layer, which is network layer, and now you want to make the frames, okay? Because you can understand, I can give you one example that why this suddenly additional headers are required. So for example, if you have one this thing here and then one node here, and then they are let's say finally connected by many routers that we have already seen, and let's say the IP address of this is something, let's say IP address is A and the IP address of this is B. So as only the packets which are actually starting from A and going to B contains the payload information as well as the IP address of the source A as a source A and the destination B. But now, ultimately, in order to deliver this packet from A to B, this packet should go over this link, correct? And if that is the case, then it could be possible that this link is actually a broadcast link where there are multiple nodes connected. Means it could be possible. Okay, it's not like that this link is only directly P2P link. In that case, you really need to give the address of the which address, mean whether you want to send it here or whether you want to send it here. So you need to put an additional address, okay, and that address you are not going to use its IP address. What you are going to use is a kind of flat address which is called MAC address, and MAC address is nothing but the link layer address. So every device, apart from having a address which is IP address at the network layer, it is also having an address at the link layer which is called MAC address. One crucial difference between the link layer address and the MAC and then the IP address is like IP address, because of the routing requirement, they are hierarchical, okay? But because there is no routing requirement in the you can say in the MAC layer, these addresses are flat, okay? They don't have any hierarchical nature, and that means any node can have, it is actually usually 48 bit in different, so that depends upon the technology. 48 you can say bit address, but that totally depends upon the technology. 48 is for Ethernet, we will see later. Wireless uses different so different technologies uses different link layer address format, and this is again, see the beauty of this abstraction and layering. Means IP layer need not have to know that what kind of addressing scheme and what kind of protocols you are using at the link layer. So IP packets can be delivered either over the Ethernet which we use or over the wireless link where they are using totally different addressing scheme and totally different protocols. Okay, so that's actually also, so this is what this address is, and then that's why you need to put up some extra headers like source MAC address and destination MAC address at the least into the frame, into the payload, and then that is how the receiver can detect that, okay, this packet is for me and so that. So addressing is required at the addressing, in one sense you can say that you can say multiplexing and demultiplexing. Means how do I know this is for whom? And if you see that that thing was already there in TCP, where you have multiple processes, and when the packet reaches to a system, or you can say that an IP address or to the OS, how the OS will find out that to which process I have to deliver this particular segment. And the answer to that is you have a port address, correct? You know that there's a port address, so that differentiates that to which particular process, to which process I should deliver this particular segment, and that process is called demultiplexing. So similar to that, here also you have a multiplexing and demultiplexing requirement. You also have a error detection and correction requirement. So therefore because your task is to deliver the data over this link in a reliable manner. And in terms of reliability, it actually depends. Usually in the Ethernet, you really don't care about reliability here. You say that it's just like UDP. I will send the packet and that's done. I will not take care of any retransmissions. Whatever retransmissions has to be taken will be taken care by the transport protocol, which we know that once the B will not receive the data, it is anyhow going to time out and the A will resend the data. But there are other technologies, especially wireless technologies. All wireless technology do use their retransmission mechanism at link layer itself. Okay, so you use the retransmission and other error detection and correction mechanisms. Like, may I ask that what is the error detection mechanism at transport layer?
Sir, checksum.
Checksums. Similar to that, you also use something which is actually a little bit different and more have more mathematical, you can say, formulation, which is called CRC, cyclic redundancy checks, and that we use in data link layer cases, and actually all being used at the same time. TCP is using at its own, and then the data link layer is using at its own layer. Okay. Let me try to give you an analogy that if a manager gives a message to a peon and that peon takes the message to the office of the other peon, let's say in front office, and then that peon takes that message and delivers it to the manager or the officer. So it's just like a two-step process. Now manager can have their own mechanisms to ensure that whether the message was received intact, but even between two peons there is a one link, and in that link they themselves can have their own mechanisms to ensure that whether the packet has been delivered reliably from one peon to another. So the similar analogy can go for the courier networks also. Means from the starting the courier company can provide you acknowledged service where or reliable service at the end-to-end level, but at the same time when the packet is being, your parcel is being traveled through the different links like airport and then shipped and then through the road and then to different places. So at between every two links from where it is started, let's say Jaipur to Pilani, Jaipur distribution facility to Pilani distribution facility. Okay, so between that also they might have their own mechanism to ensure that when it is started from Jaipur facility, it was actually received at this facility or not. Means you can either have it that, or you can't have it. There are reasons that why do we do it, because you can say that at the end of the day, if at the packet is not be delivered at the end, like a transport kind of reliability mechanism, then anyhow the retransmission or it will be traced where it is lost, and then from there it will be pushed again. So why we go for both, why we go for only one? And you can even have reverse, like especially in wireless when you are using UDP. In wireless, mostly all are actually reliable. That means they provide you the reliability through retransmission. But if you are using UDP at the transport, you are actually not using the reliability at transport layer. Okay, so it could be all four combinations. Okay. So the protocols are basically these that responds to, so how to make these frames. Once you make these frames, what are the actions will be taken by the nodes when they receive these frames? And usually there are very different technologies in this. Ethernet is the one which we use. It has a very long history. There is a 802.3 is the basically committee which since 20-30 years in the IEEE is kind of making the Ethernet technology more and more robust and fast. It actually started from 10 Mbps link. Is it 10 Mbps or 1 Mbps? I guess 10 Mbps only. 10 Mbps you can say capacity. So usually these link technologies are referred as their capacities, like how much bandwidth they can basically provide to the how much bandwidth service they can provide to the upper layer. Now here there is a very one point which is very crucial to understand is that the link layer, or like a wire or whatever you see, the wired or wireless, that may have its own capacity to transmit the data. Okay, means with that much capacity you can rate, you can transmit the data. Okay, usually those are kind of measured in terms of the megahertz. That, okay, like for example, you might have heard about that 802.11 works on 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, means what do we mean by if it is works on that channel band? Does that mean that we can transmit 2.4 gigabits per second? No, there is no direct correlation like this. So when you are working on a particular channel capacity, that really doesn't mean that actually your technology is giving you that much capacity to transmit the data. Okay, so that therefore every you can say technology, link technology, comes with this notion of what is the bandwidth it provides. For example, there are various variations of wireless, okay, and Ethernet. So Ethernet 10 Mbps, Ethernet 100 Mbps, Ethernet 1 gig, Ethernet 10 gig. So I think the latest one is 100 gig. Sir, are you here? Viren sir? I think he's not here. He has been handling this our IPC department, and he's been, so probably he is a very correct person to tell us that whether the current technology is 100 gig. But yeah, I know that there is some progress is going on in the 100 gigabits per second. You can think of that even in less than 1 second you can download your movie. Okay, so that kind of technology you can have for this. But Ethernet is only a LAN technology, local area network technology. It doesn't work for the internet, because internet there is a lot of routing and all those issues are there. So similarly, the IBM had designed a technology called token ring technology. Wi-Fi you already know, and then there is something called PPP links, triple pay links. I don't know, you are not from the generation where we used to have dial-up modems. Anybody has used dial-up modems before to connect to the internet?
Yes, sir.
You have used?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so probably you have used broadband modems, which actually does all those connectivity automatically, but those are not triple P, that is, well, point to point protocol. There used to be one modem which used to convert its name suggests like it's modem, modulation and demodulation. So its purpose was to basically convert the bits into the electrical signals, and then it usually used to work on 56 kbps lines. Okay, so there is also something called ISDN lines, and they work on, those are digital lines, so they used to work on 128 kbps. So those protocols were like P2P protocols, like how. So different protocols, see, like layer 2 technologies. Okay, now to name n number of more technologies, 2G, 3G. So this is actually from usually IEEE. Usually in the courses we do IEEE 1, the Wi-Fi is given by IEEE, the Ethernet is given by IEEE, and the kind of content we cover in the computer network course is usually related to them only, or you can say the concepts are being adopted in there only. But there are other technologies for wireless communication, especially for cellular communication. This is actually a completely different domain, where you use where the standard body who provides all these protocols is called 3GPP. So 3GPP gives the technologies like 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, okay, which you use in cellular. Means they also have their own link layer, network layer, transport layer, and transport layer is fine. See, transport layer is same Abado, but network layer, at least for the cellular technology, and especially the link layer for the cellular technology is completely different. That is what we call 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. Okay, so it's very interesting, like you are using TCP, you are using apps, but then finally it goes to the cellular phones. There you use a different, because when your cellular phone is communicating to your base station, it's also a link, but there then you are using 4G as an underlying technology. But when your mobile laptop is communicating to your mobile because it is connected in hotspot, there you are using Wi-Fi as a link layer technology. Okay, but when your laptop is connected through the cable to a switch, there you are using Ethernet as a link layer technology. So I think I have given sufficient sufficient background that what all this about link layer technology. Let's see the kind of services and the functions it provides. Okay. So the link layer control, this link layer or data link layer basically can be divided in two, you can say, sublayers. Okay, one is link layer control, which provides these functionalities like multiplexing and error detection. Yeah, you know that at the receiver you have to know that whether the packet has been lost or packet has been, see, okay, let me just put it in this way. Packet could be lost in routers when you talk about end-to-end transport protocol with delivery process to process. But what can go wrong here means why the packets are getting lost in the over the link layer. Any argument from your side?
Sir, there can be damage in physical media.
Damage in the physical media. Okay, let's think it's wireless. Then see, wireless is very error prone channel. If that is not the case, then what all we talk about that my Wi-Fi signal is poor and this and that, isn't it? It's like the wireless communication is the most interesting communication, especially for that the electronics and communication students. Means that's actually very tricky thing, because see, in wireless, I will not go into much detail, but what happens like when an electromagnetic signal, let's say from the base station, is coming to your mobile, it is not coming through one path, because these electromagnetic signals are nothing but behave exactly like the light waves. Okay, and because it's only the difference is only in the frequency. Light wave have higher frequency and they work at the 900 megahertz range. Now they actually possesses all those refraction. Okay, just like why we see light inside the room, because at the corners the light is bending. Similarly, why I'm getting the signals in the room, because there are many places, it's like there is no line of sight directly from the base station, so they are also getting bended from different corners, and they are not able to penetrate within a wall, but from the corners and the edges they are getting inside, and then you get sufficient signal strength to decoding. So, and also you are not getting signal from one path. See, there are multiple directions from where you are getting signals. Like one signal is getting reflected from my fridge and coming to my mobile, second signal is getting reflected from my sofa and coming to my mobile. Means there from multiple directions you are getting the signals. Designing a receiver for the wireless is very complex task, and you will be able to appreciate that how these mobile phones, even while they are on 30-40 kilometer, you can say, even when you are on car with that much dynamics, how do they manage all these things? So error can be there due to noises, due to presence of other signals in the environment, and because of that it may happen that you will not receive at all any energy related to that signal in your receiving device. Correct? And that is what precisely we say that यार signal nahi hai mobile mein. It's like it is saying that, see, I'm not able to detect any signal out of that. But Apart from that, even if the signal is good, signal strength is good, 1 bit or 2 bit of a message can be corrupted in between, okay, and that is something we call is like bit error rate. Usually in wired networks, until and unless it is not like what you said, it's completely destroyed, in wired networks, the error rate is of order of 10 raised to power minus 9, which is actually very less, which says that only 1 bit out of 10 raised to power 9 bits transmitted bits is going to be in error. But in wireless case, this is actually somewhere around 10 raised to power minus 5 to minus 6, which when converted to a very huge packet, and when you calculate the probability that what is the probability that one packet will be in error, and if that packet is of 1 kilobyte, the probability of packet error comes something around 10%, because it is at least 1 bit is in error, that means packet is in error. Okay, so because of that, if you calculate the probability, then basically you can do it something like this: 1 minus bit error rate, BER. It's difficult to write. 1 minus bit error rate, BER, is the probability that that bit is not in error. Raised to power n is the number of bits in the packet, and that says that no bit will be in error. And then 1 minus that much is that at least one bit will be in error. So that says that this is the probability of packet bit being in error. So 1 minus that, if you want, you can put it, the packet will be successful. So this packet being in error comes something around 10%. Okay, if your BER is something around 10 raised to power minus 6 or minus 4, depending upon n is like 1 kilobyte packet or not. More and more size of the packet, higher the probability that it will get dropped. Okay, so you really need to first detect the error, means whether the packet is in error or not, because if it is not in error, I will just deliver it to the higher layer. But if it is in an error, I will just I have to do something, that protocol will see. So, but first we need to detect the error. Means we have seen that at TCP level, you use a very simple mechanism which is called checksum to kind of ensure that the packet is error or not. But here we use a different kind of mechanism. Then can you perform recovery? See, have you till now seen any recovery mechanism that, see, if I even if I use some packets which is in error, I can correct it without even asking the transmitter to resend it? Have you seen any mechanism at any layer till now? Anybody? Have you seen? Please respond.
No, sir.
No. Okay. So why this is also important? Say, especially in case of satellite communication, see, you can always deal with the retransmission, correct? If it is an error, don't send, then you have a retransmission mechanisms and that will handle. However, when the latency, link latency is very high, which actually, let's say from satellite communication. So from here, you see, from here you are communicating through the ISRO people are communicating with what was that Chandra? What was the name of that satellite which we sent recently to Mars? I'm just forgetting that. What was the name of that satellite? Mangalyaan? Is that correct? Was it Mangalyaan?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then somehow we lost the communication and things like. See, you can think about that how far they are. Okay, even with the speed of light, it is going to take almost you can say from at least from satellite, the normal satellites, what we talk about, communication satellites, which are responsible for all our TV communication and the weather forecasting and things like that, and even the satellite which the Google uses to capture the road information, congestion information and all that. So like geostationary satellites, those actually takes 270 millisecond for a signal to reach there. So round trip becomes almost 540 millisecond. Okay. Now you can retransmit, but the problem is then it will be a lot of latency. You know that all stop and wait and all those things, correct? And even if the error rate is higher, going for go back and selective repeat becomes even difficult because you will lose everything. So it is better that we can put some kind of redundancy in the packet and then try to recover there and there only when it is received at the destination. So people have researched, and even why I take the example of mobile, because mobile has everything is state of the art. Okay. And mobile uses that the kind of receiver it is having, it basically uses a mix of error detection and you can say mix of ARQ mechanisms plus error detection mechanisms, error correction mechanism. And the way what they do is they kind of dynamically check how much is the, you can say, error rate. And if the error rate is high, they try to go tends toward error recovery mechanisms. So the messages are encoded in a way so that the recovery can be done. But when the error rate is low, it is good to just have an ARQ mechanism. So it is then you really don't need much. And even if the error rate is even lesser, then you even don't need ARQ mechanism. Like Ethernet. Ethernet does not use error recovery or any retransmission, okay, at the link layer. It only does error detection, done. Rest will be taken care by the transport layer, so end to end. So Ethernet does not use any error retransmission or error detection, which is called forward error control. So it's interesting, and all these things are really state of the art, that how they use in hybrid mechanisms and even much more that. Okay. So because of the latency issue, we sometimes we are okay to put up some redundancy in the packet, but if we can recover it there only, that to guess with very high probability that this would have been transferred even if there is an error. You will see that it's a complete branch in computer science as well as in ECE, which is called coding techniques. Okay, so this has very strong correlation with information theory, and then coding theory is one subject which is basically is completely one subject which talks about all this error detection and correction codes. We will in this here we will see something very small, means some very, you can say, simple mechanisms of error detection and correction. Even correction we will see very less, but just to tell you that this is another subject at all. So wireless communication is one subject. So if you are doing masters or undergrad in ECE, these are the subjects which you are doing. So you can see that computer network, like just at the down layer, there are even every function is completely one subject. Okay. And yes, then the second part is how much time I have. I don't think I have much time now. So let me just complete this slide. Is this okay? I complete this slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the second part is MAC layer. Okay, the MAC layer. Okay, now third is flow control, which is again optional. I hope that you already understand what is flow control. Flow control means, let's say you have this node and then you have this node and then they are two connected. Let's say this node is faster, A is faster, so it can transmit the data with very high speed, but the B is slower. So there should be some kind of flow control protocol for B to say that, see, hold down, I am not able to process this whole data and give it to the higher layer. So even whatever the buffer I was maintaining, that is full. So you just hold down and reduce your speed and things like that. Correct. This is even applicable at the link layer, and you do the same thing at the transport layer, especially the TCP protocol. There is one mechanism which you use, and what is that? What is that field which we use for flow control in TCP? What is that field which we'll use not for congestion control, for flow control? Anybody?
Receiver window.
Receiver window, correct. This is how the receiver will say that, hey, slow down, I don't have that much bandwidth. Even if the congestion in the network is not there, doesn't mean that I can process that much data with that much speed. So you have to really hold down. And it's very interesting to see that what happens when the receiver window says 0 to A. How then next time the A will transmit the data? Let's assume a situation where the B is saying that receiver window is 0. So the actual window is nothing but the minimum of congestion window and the receiver window. So now what will happen? Because A cannot say anything, then B will not reply with any act, isn't it? So what do you think? What should happen? Any guess? Means, in your opinion, what is the solution for this?
Sir, maybe we can send a 0 payload packet.
Yes, so onus is on the transmitter. TCP uses a kind of heartbeat packets, which are 0 payload packets, and they repeatedly send that heartbeat ticks and get that receiver window. So whenever the receiver window is increased, then they can start transmitting. So the TCP has that mechanism. Okay, so that is flow control, and because we have already seen flow control things and all, here no specific flow control we will see. We will see error detection in detail. We will see error recovery in detail. These are the not in detail, just to have an idea. And then we will see something which is second part of this, you can say, of this layer, is called media access control. Let me tell you that this is the highest researched area in this computer network field, even more than the TCP. Okay, TCP has 100 variants, but the MAC has 1000 variants. Okay, problem is very simple. It's just like control access to physical media. Who will transmit in this media? Because you can say, if you are also talking simultaneously with me, nothing will be done. But how we can achieve this thing in a distributed manner, because there is no central authority using of the channel, which is kind of arbitrary. Means even you can have central authority, but it has its own limitations. So there are various protocols just surrounding this. We will do these protocols in detail. We'll see their limitations, their performance, and what are the protocols are being used at Ethernet and Wi-Fi. And in this course, we won't be able to take up this token ring, but we will see that what the protocol, MAC protocol, the Ethernet uses, and what the MAC protocol, the Wi-Fi uses. Okay, this much we will do, and that's it. So I think this, and then next class we will start with something very basic, which is called framing. Okay, framing is like once you get the packet from the higher layer, you have to convert it into frame. And the major issue with this is that, like when I'm talking sentences in English, I basically take a pause between two words. Otherwise, how you will know that when a word ended and when it started again? Similar to that, how the link layer will come to know that, okay, this is one frame, it's done. Now it's another frame. Because of this problem is there because of the physical layer encoding issue. It's like how actually you are encoding at the physical layer your signals. Just to say you that, for example, if you are encoding it as a 0 as a silence, that means 0 as you can say 0 volt, and 1 as 5 volt, then how I will differentiate that whether you are not sending anything, that means because it's 0 volt, or it's actually a 0 bit you are sending as part of frame. So when we are say silence means a gap and an idle channel, I mean, what do we mean by that? So how should I basically do this framing at the link level? And this even becomes much complex in wireless, Because you see that again, same thing, the signals are keep coming. Signals are always there. How do I know that, okay, now this has ended, now this will start? So this is actually a real problem in at MacLayer. Okay, so with this I stop here, and from next class, what we have to do is see framing, then error detection, and then little bit error recovery, and then media access protocols, and that will be then our this data link layer will be done. Okay, any doubt? So if no doubt, I disconnect.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, what is ARQ?
Automatic repeat request. That is, you have already done. So stop and wait, go back and ARQ. This is how they actually chose it to write. Automatic repeat request.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so why it is automatic repeat request? Because see, if the receiver does not think about a stop and wait, if the receiver does not receive, so the timeout happens at the sender, correct? And just because of that timeout, so you are not explicitly asking him to retransmit. Just because of the timeout, it will retransmit, and that is how we have given this name ARQ mechanisms. Okay, so these are go back and stop and wait, and this. So those who have already done, only thing is that anybody can use them here also for error recovery, correct? Means at link layer also all these three can be used. However, one interesting thing is that usually the delay in the link layer is the propagation delay in the link layer is very small. So it doesn't make sense to use go back and or selective repeat, and therefore till now I don't know any wireless or wired Mac which uses anything other than stop and wait. You can think of why, because stop, if the round trip time is not much, that means propagation delay is not much, then stop and wait is also fine, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that is why usually we don't go for go back and selective repeat, especially in this. Here it's stop and wait is sufficient, but they use stop and wait. Every except Ethernet, all other Macs use stop and wait at the link layer. Okay, so I'm disconnecting.